Hello everybody, my name is Cheyenne and I like to talk about media, tech, culture, and society on my YouTube channel. But today I'm going to be talking about my tips for anybody graduating from university. So first of all, if you're graduating, congratulations, you did it, you made it to the end. Ultimately, when we go to university, we graduate hoping that we'll find a job. No matter what your employment situation is, like when you graduate, it's very daunting to like look out into the job market and try to find a job that like, one, you will love, two, it'll pay off all your student debts, and three, have enough career progression for like to help you progress through the rest of your life. So like this is a lot of like weight to put on the first job out of university. But what I want to show you in this video is that like you don't need to do that. You don't need to put this much pressure on the first job. Like you just need to like figure out what your path is and then like only take opportunities that meet your goals. So the first tip that I have for anybody graduating from university is just to understand that the job market is crazy. It's not your fault and it's not something you can control. So for millennials and for Gen Zs, we just have a tendency to be graduating in times of economic turmoil, whether it's 9/11 or the 2008 financial crisis or COVID. Like we just never really get a break. The economy never really fully recovers before it hits the next disaster. So graduating into a pandemic or graduating into a recession is obviously not ideal. Businesses are like trying to conserve their cash. They're not really hiring, or if they're hiring, it's always contract. So it's a very tough like place to be looking for a job. But what you have to remind yourself first and foremost is that you are enough, right? Like you have a degree, you have higher education, that is already putting you on a certain playing field for certain types of jobs, and that's something to be very proud of. Anything that doesn't come your way is not yours. You just have to be patient and be gracious with yourself that this job market is affecting everybody the same way. And we're all gonna like eventually get through it, but right now it's really tough. So this kind of leads me into my second tip for people that are graduating. Like don't let your financial situation stress you out. There's obviously a lot of pressure to get a job after university, not because you like want to be like you're just dying to work, but because you have a lot of student debt, you're racking up a lot of interest payments, and like having a job is gonna help you pay that off. So like I fully understand that. I know when I graduated, like I was like panicking because I thought that like there would just be jobs waiting for me after graduation, and that was like not the case. And when I realized that that was not the case, I started to freak out because I was just like, how do I have this degree and I'm just like working a retail job? Like I need to like pick it up kind of thing. So even though I was applying to a lot of jobs frantically after graduation, I did end up working retail for a couple of months, and I just sort of like settled into that role. Like I had been taking the bus all through university, and after I graduated, I bought a car with my student line of credit. So like, was that a great decision? Maybe not. Like I probably didn't need the car expense, but like I kind of like settled into the fact that like I can work my 2 retail jobs and I can afford my car comfortably, and I will be making payments to my debt. I knew that like I was in a good financial situation, and like when the full-time job comes eventually, because it did come, that I'll be ready for it. I don't think there's any shame in like continuing to work retail post-graduation. As long as you are like actively looking for your next career move. A lot of people can get like comfortable working retail. I know that for me, when I was working at Costco, like the opportunity came up about me taking the management program, which would basically like be like a 18-month rotation around all the departments, and then afterwards I become a manager, and they actually pay their managers really well. But like I knew that like if I got into that situation where I did do that program and I became a manager, it would be very hard for me to leave, because anything that I leave to take an entry-level job that's related to my degree would be less than what Costco would pay as a manager. So it would be very hard for me to leave that Costco manager position. So I didn't want to take that role. And that was a decision that I made, and it obviously paid off because like I'm making a lot more than a Costco manager right now. But there's no shame in working a minimum wage job after graduation. As long as you are able to pay your bills, that's all that matters. And if you keep actively looking for a job, you're gonna make it through. My third tip for anyone graduating is to really not make a rash decision about going back to school. So I don't wanna say don't go back to school, because I think it's very like degree specific. Like I did a communications undergraduate degree, and it was a very theory-based degree. When I was coming up on graduating from my comms degree, I kind of realized that I didn't have like the practical skills to get like an entry-level marketing job. And so before graduating, I actually made the decision to come back to school and do a marketing certificate for 1 year. And that marketing certificate kind of set me up to get more jobs, because people don't always know what a communications degree is. So you either have to spend a lot of time educating people in interviews or through your resume on what that degree means, versus like people would see certificate of marketing, they'd be like, okay, yeah, like you passed the first stage, like next interview type of thing. So I did go back to school after technically graduating from my undergraduate degree to get a certificate. I think it was the right decision for me, but like I didn't go to grad school after, right? Like I knew I needed practical skills, so I went and I did a certificate. Would it have made sense to do a master's in communication? Definitely not. I'm doing my master's of business right now, but I took time in between to like gain business skills before I went to business school. So like doing an MBA after your undergraduate degree, like I don't even think they would accept you, let alone that wouldn't be helpful. Personally, I think that like the way the job market is right now, the way that technology is changing and shifting people's roles in companies, like it's very important to have computer skills. It's very important to have skills that will not be like taken over by AI. But like, is doing your master's going to help you gain skills that will not be eventually replaced by an AI? Maybe, maybe not. But like, I just think that there's a lot of turmoil right now in the job market in terms of like how technology is going to change employment, that like just going to school to like shelter yourself from all of that is not helpful. Like it's really important to gain those skills right now while those jobs still exist, to prepare yourself for the next step. Like don't go getting yourself into more debt because you think it's going to get you a job. Like a master's doesn't automatically get you a job. And it can become a vicious cycle. Like if you get your undergraduate degree, you go apply for jobs and they tell you that you don't have enough qualifications, or you see like they want a master's degree as a requirement, but then the pay is like still minimum wage. Craziness. Don't go get a master's because you think you're gonna get that job after, right? Like if they wanna pay somebody minimum wage to do a job that they require a master's for, you don't wanna work for that company, period. I personally just think it's very important to gain practical skills after you have an undergraduate degree. I don't think that having an undergraduate degree and a master's with no work experience is going to make you better positioned to get a job. It's just gonna make you more like anxious because now you have more debt and less experience. The next tip that I have for people that are just graduating from university is to not have too high of an expectation for your first job. Like realistically, your first job out of school is going to suck. You're going to be doing the grunt work, like just doing the work in an organization that's just kind of left behind from everybody's jobs. Like your role will be very defined for you. If you're in a massive corporation, your job's gonna look like this, and it's gonna be like, this is your list of things that are your responsibility, just like stick to that list. If you work for a very small organization, you're just gonna be doing like coordinator activity, like booking meetings, taking meeting notes, sorting mail, shipping packages. Like you're just there to kind of like understand how the company works. And that's a very important job, right? Like if this is an organization that you actually wanna stay with, then you're never gonna learn more about an organization other than working from the bottom up. Take that time to really learn how the organization works. But if it's not an organization that you want to stay with, then just like understand that like these skills are still very, very transferable. Like all corporate offices generally work the same. And so that entry-level job is going to be very similar in other industries. So just make sure you're really good at doing that stuff so that you can then transition to another role at another company or within the same company. But like, your job is your job, right? Your job is not your happiness. It's really only late consumer capitalism that tries to force this message on you that you have to love your job. And I honestly feel like that's because they just want people to not leave their jobs. Like if you love it, then you won't leave. Like they always say that, like do something that doesn't feel like work. No, your job is work. Just understand that. Like you don't need to love your job. You should really find happiness in other places. Like, yeah, it's great that your job isn't a toxic workplace, because that's not good. But like your job can make you happy, but it shouldn't be, you know, like all encompassing, right? Like I would take this time personally to just figure out how your company works. Like if you know you want to stay here, like try to like understand the company politics, talk to people. If your company has like an employee resource group, make sure you join that. Like network within your company if you intend to stay there and grow. Like for where I work right now, in my ERG, I've met people that work in different departments that I honestly wouldn't have known existed had I not been in that ERG. And it's honestly a great feeling to know that like I could just like go on Teams and like call somebody that I know from my ERG and just ask them about stuff that they do in their day-to-day work to see if like that's something that I'm interested in, if I want to join that department or not. So just because you're at the bottom of an organization doesn't mean that you can't build your network within there and like start to meet people and figure out how your company works. Even if you don't intend to stay at whatever organization you're at, or if you're looking at jobs but you you don't really want to stay at that job if you were to take it, just understand that like not everybody stays in a company for 30 years. So like you might meet people at that job in that short time period that like later on they might be working somewhere else, and you can connect with them about the future opportunities. So like just meet people is what I'm trying to say. Network within your company. Networking isn't just about like meeting people outside and like far away doing your dream job. It's about meeting everybody, right? Because you don't know how those connections will help you in the future. Another tip that I have for people that are graduating, and this is like probably the most important lesson that I've learned post-graduation, is self-reflection. When I meet people as like guest lecturers in my MBA who are like doing really crazy cool things, like they've always spent a lot of time reflecting on like who they are, what they like doing, and how that fits into the world. Like self-reflection will make you proactive in your career decisions. So it's really important to understand what you like and what you don't like. Like make a list of things that you enjoy doing in your job and things you don't enjoy doing in your job, so that you are like mindful when you're looking for new jobs or like looking for career progression, that like, I don't want to do a job that does contracts and like answering questions and RFPs. Like I know I don't like that. So like I want to stay away from projects that involve that, because I'm not going to put my best foot forward because I'm bored. So as you think about what you like and don't like about your job, like think about where you want to be. Like the things that you like, what's like the next step in that part of the role? What other jobs use those skills? What kind of departments are those jobs in? Like how do those jobs help the company? Like really try to figure out like where you want to go and how your skills will match where you want to go. And when you're self-reflecting, like you can honestly just do a SWOT analysis on yourself. SWOT, like if you're in marketing, you know that's like strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Like do that on yourself for your career, right? Like what are your strengths? What are the things that you're not good at? If you're not good at them, are they things that you can change, or are they things that you can't change? Like I know personally that like I probably should learn Power BI. And that's like one thing that is a weakness of mine that I can turn into an opportunity. When I started the job that I have now, I had very like basically no Excel skills, but like lucky for me that my organization had like classes that we could take for free to like learn all of the Microsoft Office suite. So like I took all of those classes, and now my Excel skills are like really good. So like I could have just like wallowed in my poor Excel skills and not done anything to improve myself. But I took that opportunity to improve myself, and it's paid the benefits. And now I can see like the next step is Power BI. So just like be mindful of what your weaknesses are. And if there's something that you can change and you know that'll lead to further career progressions, like get on it. Another tip that I have is to learn more about your industry, right? Like if you're in the industry that you want to be in, try to figure out how your industry actually works. The more you know about your industry, the more you can like kind of map out your career and be proactive about your career. Like obviously jobs will come your way, or they'll pop up and there'll be an opportunity to apply for something. But like if you've done your self-reflection and you know where you want to be, like you're not going to take a job that's like kind of going to divert you away from like where you want to be, right? Like be proactive in your career, or you're not going to end up in places that you want to be at. And don't like hop from job to job to job to job, right? Like I know like people might tell you that, you know, you're not going to get paid more if you don't like go to another company, and that might be true. But I think you just need to be mindful of like what that looks like on your resume, because you might get to a point like mid-career where like you've just kept hopping from job to job to job, that you've never actually like been in an organization long enough to like start a project and see it through its end. And like in your mid-career, if you're trying to be like a manager or above, like they want to see you successfully complete projects, and that's not going to happen if you're job hunting. Like I think it's important to find a place where you fit in and find a place where you can be your authentic self at work and like show up every day. And I think that's more important than like the salary bumps that you're gonna get from hopping to job to job to job, because eventually those bumps are gonna stop when people realize that like they don't think you're gonna stay. And another point for like trying to figure out your industry is to use LinkedIn. I know there's like a paid version of LinkedIn where you can like, it has a lot of features where you can like see people's entire profiles, message anybody on the platform. Like consider paying for that, because there's two types of people on LinkedIn. People that are there because they feel like they have to be there, but they don't actually care to network. And then there's people that care to network. You don't know which one you're gonna get when you're messaging people, but like sometimes you'll just message someone and you'll hit it off, and it'll be like a really great connection that you can leverage to like learn more about your industry and prepare yourself for the next role. So I remember I met somebody at a networking event, And I had asked her, like, you know, how did you get your role in the bank? Like, I didn't even know your role existed. And what she told me was that she, you know, did her self-reflection. She set her goals. She knew what type of job she wanted. And then she would literally just like go on LinkedIn, message people who like looked like they kind of had the job title that she would be interested in. And then she'd be like, hey, can we have a coffee chat? I want to learn more about what you do, right? So like, it's very important to understand that like she didn't approach these people to be like, I need a job, give me a job. She approached them saying like, your job looks interesting, I want to know more about what that is. And that's very different because people like talking about themselves. If you go to them and they're just like trying to take like, give me a job, they're not gonna remember you, they're not gonna like you. But if you go to them and you're just giving like, let me hear more, I want to hear more about your stories, your experiences, like they love talking about themselves, of course they're gonna do that. And then like when a job comes up, they might think of you. Or they might like tell other people like, hey, I met this girl, like she was interested in this, maybe you should talk to her, kind of thing, right? So like there's reciprocal networking and there's transactional networking. You want to be doing the reciprocal networking, because what she was able to do is she probably had messaged like 30 people and only 2 people reached out to her. But like in those 2 coffee chats that she had with them, she learned a lot about what the banks are looking for skill wise. For the position that she wanted. First, she like realized what position she wanted, what the job title might be, and then what the skills were. And so even though she was in a job that she didn't like, she used that job to gain the skills that she needed so that when that job posting came out, she could apply for it, and she got it. So the moral of the story is use LinkedIn, message people, talk to people, reciprocal networking, expand your networks. It's not always about getting a job. It's about meeting people and like using their experiences to help guide your own career path. So the next tip I have for somebody that's graduating from university is to pay attention to your finances, right? Because you were spending a lot during university with tuition, maybe residence, food, all of that stuff. And now is the time to pay it off. The faster you pay off your student debt, the better your life will be. Obviously, depending on how much student debt you have, like paying it off might take a lot longer, but like just don't get used to spending everything that you make, right? Like automate your finances so that you have money from your paychecks going back to your debt repayment right away, so you don't even see it come into your account. And just really set up a budget for yourself and stick to it, right? Like if it is that you need an app to like show you how much you're spending and making sure that you keep on track of your spending, like get an app. I started writing down my expenses because the first year out of university, like I was sending a lot of my paychecks to my debt repayment, but I also was spending pretty recklessly like in the summer months. So like I remember just like getting my T4 or like my payment like summary after to do my taxes, and I was just like, how did I make this much and not pay off my student debt? Because like I had made more than the total of my student debt. But yeah, sometimes you just spend more than you even realize. So just be mindful of your expenses, set a budget for yourself, be diligent about paying back your student debt. Obviously, the more debt you carry on into your future, the higher interest rates you'll have for like mortgages, car loans, all of that stuff. So like, this is not something to take lightly. Like, pay down your debts. And then the last tip that I have for anyone graduating from university is to not rush the process, right? Like if you treat like graduation day as like doomsday, like you're graduating, you don't have a job, what are you gonna do? Like you're just gonna make really rash decisions because you're treating it as if like this is do or die. Your career is going to span like 40, 50 years. This is year 0. So like you have time to find the job that's going to work for you. You have time to pay off your debts. Don't take a job that like you know you're gonna hate, but you take it anyways because you just want to pay your bills, because that's not gonna be good for your like your mental health and your well-being either. But then to the opposite of that effect, like I was somebody who had like everything planned out and then nothing went according to my plan, and that was like very annoying for me. And I don't want to say gave me anxiety because I wasn't like overwhelmed with it, but it was just like really, I was just anxious because I'm like, why is things not working out the way that I planned for it to work out? So I was very annoyed. But like, just be flexible with yourself, right? Because like, I couldn't have planned my career going the way that it's gone, but I'm very happy with where I am right now. And I can attribute that to like being flexible and just like knowing what my strengths were and following my strengths, right? Because if you follow your strengths, you're always gonna be doing something that you know you're good at and that can make you happy in itself. But like, if I was just like gonna take whatever came my way because it came my way, then no, I wouldn't be where I am and like working towards something bigger, right? So just don't rush it. Don't make doomsday decisions. Always follow your strengths because that will always lead to better job performance. That's my tip. So thank you for watching my video on tips for graduation. I hope it was helpful for you. If you have any experiences you want to share, leave it in the comments. I always try to respond to my comments. these are things that I've been thinking a lot about as I go into my second year of my MBA, because that will be my last. So I'm trying to like prep myself for my own graduation, and these are the things that are on my mind. So I hope that they resonate with you guys and you were able to get something out of this. So thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.